What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review AEW Dynamite from September 23rd, 2021, coming to us from Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City. It is Grand Slam, and what a show it was. Literally, what a show it was. Like, honestly, what a show it was. This was a really, really good show. By far, one of AEW's best episodes to date, in my opinion. Again, I always state this, but AEW every week is the best wrestling show of the week, period. You know, I have a soft spot for SmackDown, because of Roman Reigns. Raw, I don't even want to mention Raw. NXT 2.0, I don't even want to talk about that. As someone that doesn't even watch a lot of NXT, the whole revamp of NXT, in my opinion, is kind of garbage, in my opinion. That's just my view. But what are my thoughts on Grand Slam? I honestly thought this show was really good. By the way, I want to address the elephant in the room. Yes, I haven't been uploading for over a whole week. I've been busy with a lot of things, and not only that, I've been extremely tired. I want to take a small break from uploading, but I did watch all the shows. By the way, not only that, I actually attended AEW Dynamite last week at the Prudential Center, so I'm going to give you guys my quick thoughts on that before I get on with the review. What are my overall thoughts on Dynamite last week? I thought Dynamite last week was a really good show. Just phenomenal show. Of course, we had Adam Cole's very first match in AEW going up against the Elite Hunter, Frankie Kazarian. Overall thoughts on that match? That was a really good match. We had a lot of things going on. Of course, we had Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston wrestle in the main event against 2.0. Awesome. I think it was 2.0. I think they wrestled, right? I don't even remember because I was there. Literally, how do I forget this type of stuff? But the crowd singing Wild Thing in New Jersey, holy shit, what an atmosphere, man. It was by far one of the best wrestling shows I've been to. And really, all the wrestling shows I've been to up to this point were just WWE shows. I've been to SummerSlam 2016. I attended a Raw at the Prudential Center back in 2017. I went to WrestleMania 35, and then I went to WrestleMania Night 1 this year. And then I went to AEW Dynamite last week. I'm going to be honest, that was an amazing show. I really enjoyed it. I also got to watch Rampage early because they did tape Rampage. Of course, we had that confrontation with Ruby Soho and Britt Baker, which I'm not going to lie, I really enjoyed that segment. That was a really good segment by both women. Both actually, absolutely went balls to the wall, and they just took extreme verbal shots at each other. Of course, we also had on Dynamite that confrontation with Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson, which led to the match that they opened up this show that I'm reviewing here. So, overall thoughts on that show. I mean, first off, the Dynamite experience is amazing. I've been to WWE shows. I mean, going to an AEW event for the first time, because I originally, this show was originally scheduled for last year, March 25th of 2020. I'm going to be honest. My experience at the Prudential Center for Dynamite was amazing. By far, one of my favorite wrestling events that I have ever attended. I'm being straight up, right now, I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed this more than I did WrestleMania. And I attended two WrestleManias, WrestleMania 37 Night 1 and WrestleMania 35. I honestly had a blast at Dynamite. I'm going to be straight up. And if you guys want to see my experience at Dynamite, follow me on social media, on Instagram. I posted a lot of stuff when I was at Dynamite on my Instagram at BrokenHavoc_0305 on Instagram. So check that out. But just bar none, Dynamite last week was amazing. I actually still didn't watch the show from television. Of course, I was there live, but I didn't rewatch the show on television. But I was there live, so I know what happened. By far an amazing episode. I really enjoyed it. But this episode, of course, this is by far their biggest episode to date and their biggest show to date, in my opinion. I mean, the craziest thing about this company is that they managed to sign CM Punk and Bryan Danielson in the span of a few weeks. Not only that, their biggest show of the year, All Out, had the biggest buy rate in the company's history. 200,000 pay-per-view buys. Over 200,000 pay-per-view buys. Amazing for them. Yes, pay-per-view buys still exist, guys, because WWE don't do pay-per-view anymore. Of course, that show is amazing. We had the debut of Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson on that show. I went apeshit for that. Of course, Christian Cage wrestled Kenny Omega in that match. Amazing-ass match. Ruby Soho made her debut, of course, in the Casino Battle Royale, which, of course, led her to wrestle Britt Baker on this show. But, AEW right now, the momentum is on them. honestly, the momentum right now for this company is on them, and I honestly feel that right now WWE has competition on their hands. You can say right now that, ratings-wise, AEW is not beating Raw in the ratings, and I can agree with that. But they did beat them in the 18-49 demo. They did beat them in that demo. Not only that, I mean, creatively WWE is losing right now. Creatively, WWE is losing to AEW right now, in my opinion. And I'm not for wrestling where I'm that type of person to say that, enjoy it all. But I'm going to be 100% honest here. Right now, AEW is the hottest promotion in the business today. It is, and it will be for the foreseeable future, because I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. This show was awesome. We also had Sting wrestle again on Dynamite, which is, bro, Sting at 62 years old looks amazing. The dude at 62 years old looks amazing. And we're going to be getting CM Punk wrestling on Rampage, which already happened because it was taped at Arthur Ashe Stadium. And it's a special 2-hour Rampage, so we're going to be getting a lot of content coming in. This is awesome. This show was fucking awesome. We had Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega, which, bro, they absolutely tore the house down. Like, bro, both absolutely killed it in this match. Like, everybody knew that this match was going to be amazing, but we didn't know how amazing that this match was going to be. Just the atmosphere in the crowd at Arthur Ashe Stadium was just balls to the wall, just flat out awesome. I enjoyed every minute of this. This match was amazing. I really enjoyed it. Really stiff shots in this match. Of course, we had CM Punk cutting one of his best promos ever since coming to AEW. We had him cutting a promo on Powerhouse Hobbs and Team Taz, which I literally wrote that whole promo down after I listened to that. I'm going to be straight up. I wrote that whole promo down on my notes in its entirety. I missed maybe a couple of words on that, but come on. This promo was one of CM Punk's best promos, not only in AEW, ever since coming to AEW a couple months ago, but his entire career in general. Literally one of his best promos. And, of course, we had Dr. Britt Baker D.MD making Ruby Soho tap out due to the lockjaw, of course. She retains the women's championship, but it was a really, really good main event. I love the fact that they had the women main event Dynamite for this particular episode in New York City. That was awesome to see. I mean, I was excited for this match ever since Ruby Soho won the Casino Battle Royale at All Out. I really was excited for this match, and I thought that they were going to absolutely tear the house down in New York City, and it was just awesome to see. And now, I definitely do believe that they're eventually going to we're going to be getting a rematch between the two women. I honestly believe that because, Britt Baker has a lot on her hands right now. She's the champion. Of course, she's going to be doing a lot of stuff, but bro, I'm dying to see another Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker match, in my opinion. I'm just dying to see another Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker match. Not only that, I mean, the list of women that Britt Baker still has to face, I mean, you got Thunder Rosa breathing down her neck. I mean, I want to see another match with Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. If you guys don't remember that episode on that St. Patrick's Day episode of Dynamite, they absolutely killed it in that Lights Out match. Amazing match. But I'm going to be talking about Dynamite Grand Slam. But before I get on with my Grand Slam review, I just want to mention right now that tomorrow, right here on the channel, I will most likely be uploading my Raw review, and alongside that Raw review, it's going to be in that same review. I'm also going to be talking about my Extreme Rules predictions video. Extreme Rules, yes, we have a pay-per-view this Sunday, which, I'm not going to lie, Raw was not a good show. It was not a good show at all, but, I'm going to be, we do have a pay-per-view this Sunday, and they barely had any build for it. They hot-shotted a lot of shit, and yes, a lot of podcasters have stated that, and I will agree. They hot-shotted a bunch of shit on that Raw show, but we got a pay-per-view this Sunday, so I'm going to be uploading my Raw review, and included on that Raw review, I'm going to be also talking about, on that same video, I'm going to be talking about my Extreme Rules predictions video, so be on the lookout for that video. But yeah, let's talk about Dynamite. Let me pull up my notes right here real quick, because there's a lot to talk about on this show, because again, this show was bonkers, amazing, just awesome ass show. I really enjoyed it. Again, the atmosphere in the crowd really made the show, and this is the case with Dynamite every single week. You see the crowd, and you can definitely see the differences between the WWE and AEW. If you watch a Raw or a SmackDown, now really, if you watch a WWE show, the majority of the weeks you'll get casual audiences. But when they go to cities like Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, New Jersey, yes, New Jersey's one of those crowds. It's a really smart crowd here in New Jersey because wrestling is extremely popular in New Jersey. You know, besides those cities, you know, WWE doesn't really get a lot of great crowds, in my opinion. You know, we'll get a good chance there and there, but I'm gonna be honest. I mean, WWE, if you could clearly see the difference between a WWE crowd and an AEW crowd, and you see that every week on Dynamite, the crowd for Dynamite is just amazing. Balls to the wall. How many times I've said that? Like, dude, how many times I've stated balls to the wall? That is insane. But like every time you see a Dynamite crowd and you just listen to what they're chanting, like it is just amazing. It gives you old school ECW vibes. You guys don't know the ECW crowd was extremely like rampant. Like it's extremely like crazy. Like they would chant whatever the hell they would want. And you know, an AEW crowd is really similar to an ECW crowd. And that's what I really enjoy about Dynamite. And that's what I really enjoyed about attending Dynamite last week. Like, just all of the shit that they were chanting last week at the Prudential Center. I mean, bruh, the crowd was amazing. And on this show, the crowd at Arthur Ashe Stadium did not disappoint at all. That is just my opinion. It did not disappoint at all. I really enjoyed the crowd here. But we're going to be talking about the opening match, of course. The opening match is the Best Bout Machine, the AEW World Champion Kenny Omega, going up against the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. One thing that I really want to talk about right before I get on with the match is the fact that, you know, I didn't tweet this out. I believe I put it on my story on Instagram. I basically stated that it's insane to think that Bryan Danielson's last match with the WWE was against Roman Reigns, and his first match in AEW is against Kenny Omega. He wrestled the two best wrestlers in the world today back to back. That is fucking crazy. Look, man, that match he had with Roman Reigns a couple of months ago on SmackDown was amazing. By far one of the best WWE matches of the year, in my opinion. But the match he had here with Kenny Omega, I mean, the match ended in a draw, but, like, do you blame them for doing that? I don't at all. The fact that he wrestled Roman Reigns and Kenny Omega back-to-back is insane. And you know what? Count me in. 2021 has been wild for wrestling, so, like, just count me in with this shit. But we got Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. Again, the crowd is just going apeshit for both wrestlers once they make their entrance. And as soon as the bell rings, as soon as the referee rings the bell, dude, the crowd is just on their feet. They didn't even they didn't even lock up, and the crowd just went apeshit. Actually, when they started to lock up, the crowd was even louder. That was the funniest thing ever, but it was amazing because they knew how good this match was going to be. But the bell rings. We get a standing ovation from the crowd. We get an amazing atmosphere, of course. Both do their face-off because they know how important this match is. They know how important this match is. So we got a lock up by both Omega and Danielson. We got a chop by Omega. Then before the lockup. Before the chop, the lockup breaks up, and then we get a chop by Omega, and then Danielson, in typical Danielson form, wiped that scar off and is like, let me continue because I know I'm the best wrestler in the world. So both lock up again, then the lockup breaks up again, then Danielson hits a chop of his own, both lock up again, a lot of lockups in this match. Danielson applies the wrist lock, side headlock by Omega. Danielson breaks out of it. Omega holds onto the rope. Then Danielson does his yes kicks. Awesome as hell. Omega's on the outside. Both lock up. Then we get a side headlock by Omega, and then a shoulder tackle by Omega after that. Then we get a chop by Omega. Both have the knuckle lock. I believe it's called that. The knuckle lock applied. Danielson bends at this point. While they were doing that, he bends the fingers of Omega at this point. Then he hits a kick, and then he goes back and forth in the corner with a chop and a kick as well. So at this point, Danielson is in control of this match. Then Omega reverses. Omega hits a couple chops, and then Danielson reverses again. He hits the yes kicks. We got a couple of kicks by Omega. Danielson then takes Omega over the top rope to the outside. Then Danielson all of a sudden hits a suicide dive, or as Excalibur would like to state, a Tompe Suicida. Then Danielson sends Omega to the ring post. Danielson goes to the top. We got a knee to the arm of Omega off the top. Then Danielson continues to work on Omega. We get a stomp by Danielson on Omega after that. Then Danielson works on the arm of Omega. Omega then gouges the eyes of Danielson after that. We get a chop by Omega. Omega sends Danielson to the corner. We get a couple of stomps by Omega, and then Omega hits a couple of chops. Then Danielson is... So at this point, the amount of chops that Bryan Danielson has taken in this match, I mean, you can tell, but if you look in the match, dude, Danielson, he had literally red scars on his chest. Those were some stiff-ass chops that he took. That is crazy. I think it's shown on this photo right here. Look at that. If you see that, dude, Danielson at this point in the match was just all red due to those freaking chops. It goes to show you that Omega is by far one. He proves that he is the best bout machine. And he really shows it with all these chops that he's just hitting. So after that, we get a kick by Omega. Then we get a kick to the back of Danielson by Omega. We get multiple kicks at this point by Omega. We get an elbow by Omega. Then Danielson tries to fight back, but then Omega takes him back down with a slap. But then Danielson slaps him back. We get a right hand by Omega. Danielson fights back with a couple of chops. Then Omega applies the thumb to the eye. That's weird how he said it, applies. He puts his thumb to the eye of Danielson, or gouges the eye of Danielson. Then he hits the traditional, you can't escape moonsault. But what happens, Danielson gets his knees up. Then we get a couple of kicks and chops back and forth by Omega. Then we get a lot of yes chants at this point. Then he hits he reverses the hammer throw into a moonsault. He hits the running hammer shot on Omega. Then both are on the top. Danielson then hits the Hurricane Rana on Omega after that. From the top rope, he hits the freaking Hurricane Rana, which was amazing. We got a cover and a near fall. Omega sends Danielson to the corner. Then Omega out of nowhere hits the Hurricane Rana on Danielson in the center of the ring, which, I mean, it's Kenny Omega. Of course he's going to do shit like that. Then Danielson at this point is on the outside. Omega then hits the somersault on the outside on Danielson. Both are back in the ring. Danielson tries to roll up Omega, but we get a near fall. Omega rolls up. We get a near fall. Then Danielson applies the catapultation. I think that's what it's called. It was a submission that I haven't seen before, but it was called a catapultation. I think he did it a couple times in the WWE. I don't even know, because they never called it. They never called it that. I mean, I guarantee I think he did that in the WWE. I just don't remember. But I didn't even know the name of that submission move. But that was a really dope submission attempt by Danielson. I think it was called the catapultation. That's what Excalibur stated on commentary. But Omega escapes. At this point, Omega is on the elevated ramp. And yes, there was an elevated ramp for this show. And it was an LED ramp, by the way. Both are on the ramp. We got a bunch of yes kicks by Danielson. I'm going to still call them yes kicks because I was introduced to Daniel Bryan in the WWE. Okay? I was introduced to Daniel Bryan in the WWE when I first started watching wrestling. They were the yes kicks. So Omega later catches Danielson and hits the Snapdragon Suplex on the ramp on Danielson. Omega works... he walks all the way down to the stage, and what he does is... Literally, what he does, he just runs up to Danielson and hits the fucking V-trigger on Danielson after that. Once we go to commercial break, Omega is in control. Omega throws Danielson through the table. Well, he doesn't put him through the table, but he throws him on the table from where the timekeeper's area is. Basically, the table of the timekeeper's area. Then Danielson gets back in the ring. Once we're back from break, Omega hits the buckle bomb on Danielson. It didn't look like Omega hit the buckle bomb correctly. Well, he hit it correctly, but Danielson didn't hit the turnbuckle. Instead, he went over the top rope. He literally, Omega hit the buckle bomb on Danielson, right next to the top turnbuckle. And Danielson and went over the top rope. He didn't really land on the turnbuckle. So after that, Omega goes to the top. He hits a missile dropkick on Danielson. We get a cover and a near fall. Omega then tries to apply the Snapdragon suplex. We get a roll up by Danielson. We get a near fall. Omega then tries to go again for the Snapdragon, but then Omega hits the back heel kick. Then Omega hits the V-trigger on Danielson into the corner. Omega then takes Danielson to the top. He tries to go for the Avalanche Dragon suplex, but Danielson escapes. Omega falls onto the top turnbuckle, and then we get a backdrop by Danielson off the top. Then we get a couple of yes kicks by Danielson. A lot of yes kicks by Danielson, man. Omega catches him. We get a right hand by Omega. Danielson goes for repeated rights. Then Omega hits a knee. We get a rolling elbow strike by Danielson, and then we get a shoulder capture by Danielson. We get a cover and a near fall. At this point, the crowd is going apeshit. Like, the crowd is just giving them a standing ovation at this point. Danielson goes to the top, and then Omega catches him. Omega takes him to the top and then headbutts the head of Danielson after that. Then we get a Snapdragon suplex, or an Avalanche Snapdragon suplex, because it was from the top rope on Danielson, which, Omega is insane. The dude is crazy. So after that, we get a cover by Omega, and then we get a near fall. Then Omega hits the V-trigger on Bryan Danielson after that. Omega picks up Danielson. Danielson escapes into a Hurricane Rana. Then Omega misses a V-trigger and lands on the middle turnbuckle. Then we get a yes kick, one yes kick at this point by Danielson. Then Omega counters the running knee and hits the V-trigger. We get a cover and a near fall. So at this point, we got back and forth action by both Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega. Then Omega misses. So he goes to the top, and actually he tries to go for a Phoenix Splash. Yes, he pulls a freaking Rich Swann and tries to go for a Phoenix Splash. Omega always he does the Phoenix Splash, but we barely see him do the Phoenix Splash all the time. I mean, I think he did it. I think he did it at the Excalibur mentioned this. I think he did it at the Full Gear match with Jon Moxley a couple of years ago at Full Gear. Of course, they had that Lights Out match in Baltimore, which was a really good match. I have to rewatch that match because it's been a while since I've seen that match. But they both absolutely tore the house down. You had mouse traps and shit, like barbed wire. Of course, we had a suplex that Jon Moxley hit on Omega through barbed wire. But whatever. That's another story for another time. But Omega tries to go for the Phoenix Splash, but misses it. We get a couple of yes kicks by Danielson. Omega fights back with a couple of elbows. Then we get back and forth action by both Danielson and Omega. Then we get a yes kick on the head of Omega. We get repeated stomps on Omega. Then rolls Omega up into the crossface. Omega gets his foot on the bottom rope. We get a running knee in the corner by Danielson. And at this point, there's less than 20 seconds left in the match. So both go at it, back and forth. Both go at it. We get a running knee in the corner by Danielson. Omega goes for a V-trigger. Danielson fights back. We get back and forth again. Headbutts by both. Both exchange rights. We get a kick by Danielson, and we get a couple of chops by Omega. Then the bell rings. What happens? The match ends in a draw. And honestly, I am not mad at this at all. I remember I was watching this match. I was like, why did the bell ring? And I was like, oh shit, this was a 30-minute time limit. Yes, this match went 30 minutes. They wrestled for 30 minutes, man. They knew how good this match was going to be, and it wasn't going to last 20 minutes. They were like, nah, we're putting a 30-minute time limit on this match. And, what are my thoughts on this match? Both absolutely tore the house down at Arthur Ashe Stadium, man. Both Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson, tremendous wrestlers. Both worked a really, really, really good match. One of the best matches I've seen in the year. I mean, again, my favorite WWE match in 2021 was the match that Daniel Bryan had with Roman Reigns. And honestly, I will say this match absolutely killed it. And the fact that he wrestled Roman Reigns and Kenny Omega back-to-back is just, I can't believe it, man. Daniel Bryan is one smart ass. He legit is one smart ass. But, the match ends in a draw. And I thought that was a really, really good decision by AEW. We're definitely going to be getting a rematch between these two. Absolutely. We're definitely going to be getting a rematch between Danielson and Omega. I mean, why can't you? I mean, we're definitely going to be getting two more matches. We got to get a whole feud with these two guys, man. And after Danielson, we got to get CM Punk, because that's another dream match I definitely want to see. I want to see Kenny Omega wrestle CM Punk, because that match is definitely going to be happening. But again, this match was amazing. I really enjoyed this match. Again, the crowd was just flat out energetic as hell throughout the entire match. The crowd, even before they locked up, the crowd knew that this match was going to be good, and these two guys absolutely delivered it. But after the match, what happens? The Elite come out and they try to basically save Kenny Omega because Danielson was applying the yes lock on Omega. But then what happens? Adam Cole and the Young Bucks hit a triple super kick on Bryan Danielson. But what happens? The Jurassic Express and Christian Cage come in for the save. And yeah, that was Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. So we got a lot of stuff happening. So we got Jurassic Express and Christian Cage versus Adam Cole and the Young Bucks, I believe, this Friday on Rampage, which, by the way, Rampage was already taped. They taped it last night, so there's spoilers out there, but I'm trying not to spoil myself because I really want to watch Rampage without any spoilers. And it's going to be a 2-hour show. That's going to be great. Now it's great. It's going to be weird. It's going to be a lot because it's 4 hours of wrestling. Of course, we got 2 hours of SmackDown and 2 hours of Rampage. But we got a lot of stuff happening this Friday, and it's going to be epic. All right, moving on with the show, we got CM Punk, of course, addressing the audience 48 hours before his first match on television. In reality, it was not 48 hours because, again, Rampage was taped. He already wrestled. I don't want to see the match until it airs. That's just my opinion. But we got CM Punk cutting a fantastic, and I mean fantastic, promo on Dynamite. I mean, dude, CM Punk, I don't even have to explain how good of a promo CM Punk is. Honestly, you the viewer, I do not even have to explain how good of a promo CM Punk is. I'm being 100% honest with you. But, I'm going to be honest, CM Punk, ever since coming to AEW, he has cut one of the best promos of his career. The first promo that he cut on The First Dance was amazing. But this promo right here, for a match he's going to be wrestling Will Hobbs this Friday on Rampage. I mean, again, the match already happened, but I'm just going to say this Friday. He's going to be wrestling Hobbs on Rampage, or he already wrestled Hobbs on Rampage. I don't know the outcome of that match. But, I mean, he put over that match like a sailor. And not only that, CM Punk, just the fact that he cares about the young talent is just amazing. Because we need more people like a CM Punk in this business. And the promo that he cut, again, the promo that CM Punk cut was just awesome. I really enjoyed the promo. I actually wrote almost everything that he said in this promo because it was that damn good. Usually when a wrestler cuts a promo, I just cut right to the chase and just add a little bit of notes and just be like, all right, that's what he said, blah, blah, blah. But this promo right here was really, really good. So he basically comes out to Cult of Personality, of course. He didn't jump to the crowd like he did last week at the Prudential Center, which sucked, but I mean, it's in a stadium and it's on an elevated ramp, so it'd be a little weird and kind of risky. But I mean, I will admit, the crowd again singing Cult of Personality. I was there last week. I mean, the crowd singing Cult of Personality. I mean, I have the video of it on my Instagram. Check it out. Literally, just the best experience ever, and the crowd at Arthur Ashe Stadium did not disappoint at all. So the crowd sings Cult of Personality as usual. So he says that he is glad he isn't wrestling on Dynamite because how do you follow that? Of course, he is talking about the match he had. Well, not the match he had. The match that Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega had because, of course, they absolutely tore the house down a couple of moments ago. So he's like, how do you follow that? And then we got a couple of CM Punk chants by the crowd. He says it's been a long time since he's been in New York City. And it's been a long time that professional wrestling has been in New York City. Damn, that was one of the best lines that CM Punk has stated. Because WWE, let's be honest, they're not pro wrestling. They are not pro wrestling at all. They don't envision themselves as pro wrestling. They fucking hate the word pro wrestling. They are sports entertainment. And I tweeted this out a couple of weeks ago. WWE is the leader of sports entertainment right now. AEW is the leader of professional wrestling. That's that. That's my opinion. That may sound off. That may sound like it's a whole mark saying that, but I may come off as a mark, but come on, I'm just telling the truth. But he says that he has people say that he needs to be mad and says that he needs to be pissed off, and they want the old CM Punk, and says you will see him, but be careful what you wish for. Then he proceeds to talk about Team Taz and says half of them are from New York and they don't even like them. Damn. Says that he sees the crowd and has a smile. Says what does he need to be mad about? He says last week on Dynamite they jumped him and it pissed him off, and yes, he's mad about it because he went through a table. Says he can't help but feeling the way he feels. That pissed off feeling goes away, and says it's a love fest. Again, awesome ass promo by CM Punk. Then he says he is smiling and he is happy, and says he is happy to see the fans, and says what they attempted to do was take all of this away from him. Basically, of course, what happened last week, Powerhouse Hobbs basically just took out and put CM Punk through the announce table because he was on commentary for last week's show. And they don't want to see happy CM Punk and enjoying pro wrestling fans. And then he says he gets really pissed off because it's been so long since he felt this, and it's been so long since he had this, and it's been so long that he needed this. He gets pissed off because no one is going to take this away from him. This is his once again. We get a bunch of CM Punk chants, and says they should have picked him back up and broke his neck and made sure that the 20,000 at Arthur Ashe Stadium did not sing Cult of Personality. They slept on the leg of CM Punk, and it is not his job to wake him up. It is his job to tuck his ass in. And then he says, Rampage, Grand Slam, Powerhouse Hobbs goes to sleep. Mic drop. And the segment ends. Yeah, the segment ends. Literally, mic drop after that. Holy shit. Like, what are my thoughts on this segment, man? Again, man, CM Punk, it is amazing that CM Punk is back in wrestling, but not just back in wrestling, back with AEW. And I stated this in one of my videos that this is a whole game changer. And you want to know my true thoughts on that? I still believe that this is a game changer. That promo that CM Punk cut on this show, I mean, I believe everything that man said on the microphone. You want to know why? Because it is the absolute truth. It is the absolute truth. I'm being straight up. You listen to a promo on WWE television, they come off extremely bad. I'm being 100% honest here. They come off extremely bad, and it's extremely cringeworthy. It's just the cold, hard truth. And, a lot of WWE fans will not like that, but I'm just telling the truth. The promo that CM Punk cut, I mean, bro, I know for a fact this guy's going to top it. He's going to top this. He's going to top every single promo that he does from here on out. But the promo that he cut on is basically just talking about Will Hobbs, a guy that debuted for AEW last year, and he's going to be wrestling him on Rampage this Friday. I mean, like, dude, it makes me more interested in this match. I mean, I was always interested in this match because it's CM Punk's first televised match in 7 years. But I feel like this match is more important because it not only, puts CM Punk on the forefront, but this also elevates Powerhouse Hobbs. One of the things that he stated about going to AEW is that he knows about a lot of the young talent that is backstage and, that is hungry. And one of those talents is Powerhouse Hobbs, or Will Hobbs, whatever you want to call him. It's just amazing to see that CM Punk. I mean, and this is not a situation in which if CM Punk wins this match, Powerhouse Hobbs is buried. That is not the case in here, because even if CM Punk wins, he's gonna make Powerhouse Hobbs look strong, and that's what he wants in the long run, and that's awesome. We need more people like CM Punk in this business, as I stated before, and that's what I loved about this segment. This promo was amazing. The crowd, again, energetic, and it was just flat out amazing. We got the next match of the evening. We got MJF going up against Brian Pillman Jr. Of course, MJF be taking things way too personal last week and 2 weeks ago, talking about Brian Pillman Jr.'s father, of course, the late, great, the loose cannon, Brian Pillman. be talking about a lot of stuff, talking about his family, talking shit about his family. Apparently, MJF's parents were at the show, which was hilarious, and they had a sign basically saying, "Yeah, we don't like him either." But what are my thoughts on this match? This was a pretty good match. Brian Pillman looked great at what he did. MJF, again, why should I explain anything about MJF? You guys already know how MJF is. MJF is amazing at what he does. Not only that, MJF is extremely, and I mean this wholeheartedly, extremely old school when it comes to his wrestling. He gives you the vibe of an 80s wrestler. That's how it is. That's how this match basically was. Like this match, like especially the way MJF wrestles, it's very old school. And, you know, one of the things I like about FTR as well, and I'm going to be talking about FTR later, is that they mix in 80s style wrestling to modern wrestling, and they mix both of those styles up, and that's what I like about FTR. But MJF, he's strictly old school when it comes to his style. But I'm going to be talking about this match right now. So Pillman goes after MJF. We got a couple of arm drags and hip tosses by Pillman. We got a couple of chops by MJF. Pillman then hits a couple of chops. We got a kick by Pillman. MJF then drops Pillman onto the middle turnbuckle. He proceeds to work on Pillman. We got a stomp by MJF. Pillman then fights back. We got a sunset flip, and then we get a backslide by Pillman. We got a near fall. MJF works on Pillman during the commercial break. Once we're back from break, we get a right hand by MJF. MJF works on Pillman. Pillman then fights back with a couple of chops. We get a crossbody by Pillman from the top. We get a couple of clotheslines by Pillman. Then Pillman hits a thrust kick, and then we get repeated headfirst shots on MJF onto the top turnbuckle. Then Pillman hits a power slam after that. Then we get a cover and a near fall. MJF then uses Julia Hart as protection. And this is, of course, MJF is a heel, so he uses Julia Hart as protection. Then MJF grabs Julia by the wrist, and, you know, Pillman out of nowhere just hits a drop kick out of nowhere to, you know, save Julia Hart from MJF. But then all of a sudden, once they both get back in the ring, MJF applies the salt of the earth, aka the arm bar, on Pillman. And what happens? Pillman taps out. I think he taps out, right? Or, oh no. Yeah, he applies the salt of the earth when Pillman drops on the top. It's because I literally missed those notes. I think he tapped out, but MJF did win the match. MJF won the match, and yeah, that was that. MJF beats Brian Pillman Jr. Honestly, I don't know what other decision could be made. I mean, Brian Pillman Jr. is great, and I do think he's going to be a main eventer in the near future. But MJF, right now, all eyes are on MJF, because once Hangman gets that title from Omega, the guy to take the belt off of Hangman is 100% MJF. It's got to be MJF, because MJF right now is on top of the world. At where he's at right now, he's here. But by next year, he's going to be up here. And, you know, MJF, you know, you got a star in the making. You got a star in the making. We got Chris Jericho and Jake Hager basically cutting a promo on Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, of course, and also talking about American Top Team. Of course, they had an altercation last week on Dynamite. Next matchup of the evening, we got the rematch, Malakai Black versus Cody Rhodes. What are my thoughts on this match? Their first encounter was extremely short, but rightfully so. They're making Malakai Black look extremely strong, and Malakai Black in this match went over against Cody Rhodes, and rightfully so. One thing I was really shocked about was the crowd booing Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is getting that babyface Roman Reigns treatment, that babyface John Cena treatment. He's starting to get those mixed reactions from the crowd. What are my thoughts on that? Honestly, you know, I mean, it's not like Cody Rhodes is shoved down our throats, because if this was WWE, keep in mind, if this was WWE, they would shove down Cody Rhodes straight up our throats, literally. And that's nothing against Cody Rhodes. I'm a big fan of Cody Rhodes. I'm just being honest. If this was WWE, they'd shove him down our throats every single week, and the crowd would immensely, just like that, turn on Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes is starting to get those mixed reactions wherever he goes, and he got booed in this match. Malakai Black, even though he was booked as the heel, he was treated as a babyface. And, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on with Arn Anderson and stuff. Who knows what's going to be going on, but this match was longer than their first match. But this was a really good match. So the match starts. We get a takedown by Cody. We get a couple of right forearms by both. We get a right hand by Cody. Then we get a foot leg sweep by Malakai Black. Malakai then hits a moonsault and sits in the middle of the ring while Cody's on the outside. And by the way, Cody Rhodes also comes to the ring with Brandi Rhodes. And while Malakai Black is sitting in the ring, you had Brandi Rhodes just flip off Malakai Black out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, Malakai Black applies the octopus hold. Then we get a roll up by Malakai. We get a near fall. Cody hits a disaster kick on Malakai on the outside. Cody again gets booed in this match. And you can clearly hear at this portion of the match, Cody falls into a knee strike on the ramp. So he drops from the top rope, but then drops onto a knee of Malakai Black. Malakai works on Cody during the break. Once we're back from commercial break, we get a devastating, and I mean devastating, kick by Malakai Black. This knocks out Cody out. Like, he just knocks him cold. He knocks him out, and Cody is out. So we get a cover, and Cody gets his foot on the rope. Then Malakai hits his knee into the corner. Cody hits a dragon screw after that. Cody works on the knee of Malakai. Cody then tries to go for the crossroads, but then Malakai counters. Cody counters back. Cody then gets dropped by Malakai. Malakai Black then gets hit with the crossroads, and then Cody hits the Cody Cutter. Then hits the crossroads. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. The arm gets taken out on the outside. Then we do not know who. So Arn Anderson gets attacked on the outside. We do not know who attacked Arn Anderson. I didn't see it on television. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just didn't see it. He did get taken out, but I did not know how. But we get a couple of right hands by Cody. Then Malakai spits some mist on Cody Rhodes. What happens? Cody Rhodes gets blinded. He applies an inside cradle on Cody. 1, 2, 3. Malakai Black beats Cody Rhodes for the second. I was about to say second straight week, but they wrestled like a couple of weeks ago. Malakai Black beats Cody Rhodes for the second time. Overall thoughts on this match is this match was really good. The match, their first encounter, it was booked immensely well. That was like a perfect booking for a match, because Malakai Black looked extremely strong. And Malakai Black is a heel in this scenario, and he's still a heel. But he got a babyface reaction because a lot of people are really infatuated with Malakai Black. But I will say this, Malakai Black is awesome at what he does. Cody Rhodes is awesome at what he does. Cody Rhodes is getting booed. I don't know about that. I wouldn't boo Cody Rhodes. I'm a big fan of Cody Rhodes, but the crowd was booing Cody Rhodes. I don't know why. But, Malakai Black is on a roll, and this only makes him stronger. They're booking him to be a really strong force in the company right now. And who knows where this is going to lead to? Maybe a TNT championship. I wouldn't mind Malakai Black holding the TNT championship. And you're probably going to be telling me, oh, but that's a mid-card title. To these people, they don't treat the TNT championship like a mid-card title. They treat that like a legitimate championship on par with the AEW World Championship. And you know what? Malakai Black is 100% a certified main eventer. 100%, this guy is a certified main eventer, and it's just awesome to see. It's just really awesome to see. We get a video package of Sammy Guevara versus Miro next week on Dynamite for the TNT Championship. Who do I think is going to be winning that match? As much as I want Sammy Guevara to win, again, I do not see Miro losing to Sammy Guevara, but maybe I may be wrong, because I did state earlier, I did state in previous Dynamite reviews that I really want to see a guy like Jungle Boy or Sammy Guevara beat Miro for the TNT Championship. So, come on, that match is going to be great regardless. I mean, the first match that Miro had with Fuego del Sol was amazing. The second match was not bad. It was okay in my opinion. I mean, I was there. The crowd was kind of dead during that match in my opinion, but it was not a bad match. But their first match was awesome, and it didn't even last long. That was the craziest thing. All right. Now we got one match I really, really want to talk about, and that is FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler going up against Darby Allin and Sting. We got separate entrances this time for both Darby Allin and Sting. What can I say about this match? Sting at 62 years old is, dude, the spots that I've seen in this match with Sting, holy shit. Dude, the guy, it looked like the guy hasn't aged a bit. And we've seen this many times when he was wrestling in AEW, you know, at Double or Nothing and that one episode in Houston on Dynamite. I mean, dude, Sting at his age, at 62 years old, looks amazing. He looks amazing. And he is much better than Goldberg, in my opinion. Goldberg be botching a lot of spots. But Sting, fucking legend. He looked amazing in this match. Darby Allin, and I also, like, Darby Allin looked great, but I also loved the finish of the match, which I will talk about after I get through the whole match. But the match starts. Sting tags in. He tries to go after Wheeler. Harwood out of nowhere attacks Sting. Sting then fights off FTR. He misses a Stinger splash. FTR then gets the control. We get a cover by Harwood, and then we get a near fall. We get a shoulder tackle by Sting on Harwood. Then Sting falls on Harwood. On Harwood. Darby tags in. He works on FTR. Then we get a drop kick by Darby. Then we get a coffin splash by Darby on both members of FTR. Then tries to go for the coffin drop on FTR, but on the outside he gets caught and it gets thrown onto the ring apron. So again, crazy shit's going on right now. We are in commercial break, but once we get back from commercial break, actually no, FTR is in control of Darby Allin during the commercial break, but once we're back from break, Darby proceeds to fight back. Harwood then hits an uppercut. He sends Darby to the corner. Darby then tries to tag Sting, but FTR holds on. Sting finally tags in after that, works on FTR. Sting hits an awesome-ass spine buster. We get a cover and a near fall. Sting then pushes Cash to the outside. Then he hits a crossbody on Harwood. We get a cover and a near fall. Harwood then tries to go for the tombstone pile driver, but then Sting counters into a scorpion death drop, and then Cash Wheeler tries to make the save. But what happens? Darby Allin off the top hits the coffin drop on Cash Wheeler onto the apron, and the match ends by Harwood tapping out to the scorpion death lock. Overall thoughts on this match. This was a really good match. Again, Sting looked amazing. I loved the finish of the match where while Sting had the Scorpion Deathlock applied on Harwood, Darby Allin out of nowhere just hits the freaking coffin drop on Wheeler onto the apron. That was an awesome-ass spot and an awesome-ass finish in my opinion. Sting, again, fucking awesome. Legend in the wrestling business. And, you know, Sting just looked amazing at his age. 62 years old, Sting looked amazing. That is awesome. We got our main event of the evening, which is a really, really good match in my opinion. This was a really good match, and I really hope we get a rematch in the near future. Of course, I'm talking about Dr. Britt Baker D.MD, the AEW Women's World Champion, defending her title against Ruby Soho. Wow. What are my thoughts on this match? I loved the fact that they actually main evented this show. I thought that Danielson and Omega was gonna close the show, but I felt like it was gonna be the right. I think after watching last night's show, I think it was the right call for this match to basically close the show instead of Bryan and Omega, because of the fact that we didn't know how long Bryan and Omega was gonna take, and they want to get the crowd just go crazy and just running. So Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega just absolutely tore the house down in the first 30 minutes of the show. But this match was really good as well. I really enjoyed this match. Ruby Soho looked great. Britt Baker, as usual, the Dr. Britt Baker D.MD. What can I say? I mean, by far, she's having the time of her life right now. Like, this is by far like just. She is the top women's wrestler in AEW right now, and she really proves it, and I cannot wait to see a rematch between both Ruby Soho and Britt Baker. But I'm going to be talking about the match. Just let me pull up my notes right here real quick because my phone keeps on turning off. But the match starts. Both lock up. We get a waist lock by Baker. Then we get a waist lock by Ruby Soho. Then we get a side headlock by Ruby. Then we get a shoulder tackle by Ruby. Then a knee by Ruby. Britt escapes and takes a small break on the outside. Of course, Rebel and Jamie Hayter are on the outside. Ruby goes to the top. She hits a crossbody on both Jamie Hayter and Rebel. Then Baker hits a thrust kick. Then Britt Baker hits a swinging neck breaker on Ruby Soho. Once we go to commercial break, Baker is working on Ruby during the break. Once we're back from break, then Ruby is back in control over Britt Baker. We get a kick by Ruby, and then we get a second kick by Ruby. Baker hits a right forearm. Then we get a side slam by Ruby. Then we get a thrust kick by Ruby. And then Baker hits a thrust kick on Ruby after that. Both exchange shots after that. Ruby proceeds to get control. We get a headbutt. Ruby escapes the lockjaw attempt. And then Ruby applies a waist lock after that. Then Baker hits a sling blade. Rebel gives Britt the glove. Ruby blocks the stomp from Britt Baker. Ruby is twisting the knee of Britt Baker at this point. Then we get a slingshot by Ruby Soho. Then Ruby hits a step-up enziguri in the corner on Britt Baker. Then Ruby goes to the top. She hits an awesome-ass senton from the top. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Britt Baker hits a swinging neck breaker out of nowhere. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Britt is on the top. Then, same as Ruby Soho, both fight it out on the top. And then we get an air raid crash by Britt Baker on Ruby off of the top rope, which was an awesome spot in the match. By far the best spot in the match, in my opinion. We get a cover by Britt Baker, but we get a near fall. Then Britt Baker stomps on Ruby's head face first onto the steel steps. Britt then hits the stomp. We get a cover and a near fall. We get a roll up by Ruby, and then we get a cover and a near fall again. Then we get a no future by Ruby Soho. She takes out Rebel, and then Hayter takes out Ruby. Then Britt applies the lockjaw on Ruby Soho mad tightly. What happens? Ruby is unfortunately taps out, and Britt Baker retains the AEW Women's World Championship. Overall thoughts on this match. This match was really good. Both tore the house down in New York City at Arthur Ashe Stadium. They looked really good in the ring. Ruby Soho, I mean, I can't explain it enough. WWE did Ruby Soho wrong, man. Like she should have been the top of the women's division, in my opinion. I believe she was on the SmackDown brand, right? Yeah, she was on SmackDown in a group with Liv Morgan. And, she was in a group with Liv Morgan, which nothing against Liv Morgan. I think Liv Morgan is really good at what she does, and she's one of the best female wrestlers that the WWE has. But she was in the storyline with Billie Kay and stuff, and I'm like, bro, that's the best you got for Ruby Riott? I mean, like, really? Like, if you compare her run in WWE to the run that she's currently having in AEW, I mean, like, you can clearly see the difference on what WWE and AEW on their philosophy, what their philosophies are, and what their goal is. I mean, WWE does not care about pro wrestling. AEW cares about pro wrestling, and we definitely see that with this match. And not only this match, but the entire show. I mean, like, this show was awesome. This show was balls to the wall, one of the best shows, if not the best show AEW has to offer. Not only that, it is the largest attended show in AEW's history. And you know what? As someone who attended Dynamite last week, I mean, this show was much better, but like last week's show was awesome as well. But my experience at Dynamite, by far my best experience so far as a wrestling fan. And the experience, I guarantee that the experience that a lot of these fans had when they were inside Arthur Ashe Stadium, they absolutely could agree. And you know what? It's just awesome. AEW in New York City, and I hope to God that we get a future Grand Slam, and hopefully this can be an annual thing, because you know what? This is a big show, and we're going to be getting those quarterly events on TNT. I mean, it was just announced that Rampage is actually going to be staying on TNT, and Dynamite is going to be the only one moving to TBS, but that's great to see. I mean, we got a TBS championship coming in. We're most likely going to be getting trios titles as well. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in AEW right now, and I've stated this earlier, and I will continue to state it. AEW right now is the hottest promotion in professional wrestling today, bar none. And, WWE is definitely watching this shit. They are reacting to all of the bookings that they're doing. Like, they're reacting to everything that AEW is doing, my bad. And they're reacting to it. And, Cody Rhodes stated this in an interview. I believe it was Collider. I believe it was Collider that Cody Rhodes and Brandi Rhodes were in a couple of years ago. This was like a couple months before the debut of Dynamite. And he says, we got to focus on ourselves. And WWE, they're just reactionary. And that's what WWE is doing right now with bringing in Roman Reigns on Raw, all that stuff. And I will be talking about that tomorrow on my Raw review, and also I will be talking about my predictions for Extreme Rules. But WWE is reactionary, and AEW is just focused on them. And that's that. That's that. And you know what? Competition is good for the wrestling business. So that... My bad. I actually, by accident, I just changed the screen. But that was my AEW Grand Slam review. Overall thoughts on this show. I thought this was a really, really good show. By far AEW's best show so far in the year 2020. And 2021 has been a wild year, not only for AEW, but it's been a wild year for professional wrestling in general. And you know what? I just want the momentum to keep on going, especially for AEW, man. The momentum is on their side right now, and I'm so happy to see what happens in the future. Full Gear, of course, we got Full Gear coming up in November. I mean, that's going to be a big show as well. We got a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, that was my AEW Grand Slam review. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and subscribe to the channel for more content. And this is Broken Havoc from the Broken Havoc podcast, signing out.